Hey everyone, Matthew Lockwood here. I just want to go over the NES Controller operation number 4 engraving process for the top surface of your NES controller that we've been machining in the CNC lab these last couple weeks. So realistically, the NES controller, what we are going to be working on for op number 4 is basically engraving all of this fine detail on the top surface. It's kind of really what sets off your project and makes it look a lot nicer. So that would be like any of these lines around your D-pad. We've got the lines around your slots, your select start buttons, as well as the Fanshawe North Star, and then obviously the manufacturing engineering technician label as well. So right off the get-go, I already have this program fully made. So if you are fine with just doing the base of what I just shown you, if you want to, you can actually download this 8004 PIT file. And I'll just open this up really quick so you can kind of see. But this is all available to you on FOL. If you want to download it, you can. Here's the entire program here, and it will basically engrave everything that you have just seen. So a couple things that you need to pay attention to. Number one is that your datum location, it's on the your X0 is on the left-hand side. Your Y0 will be on the fixed jaw of your part. Your Z0 is going to be on the top surface. You're going to be using a 30-degree engraving tool. And another big one is you're going to be using the G56 work offset. So again, this program is already written. You just kind of need to make sure that you set it up in these regards and all will be good. Now, a couple students, what we wanted to do, and I've talked to a few people, they said that they want to engrave their initials on top of the surface as well, and that's totally cool. I'm going to walk you through that process. So do me a favor, I actually have the Mastercam file here. If you just want to open this up and download it, and give it a few seconds to open. Obviously, you're going to need to do this on a computer that has Mastercam on it. Realistically, I would suggest doing this on one of the computers in the B1016 CNC lab. And the reason for that is because if you look over here, properties, we need to make sure that our file is going to post using Fagor word programming. The default will just be with Fanuc. So we need to make sure that we are actually using a computer that has the Fagor post processor on it. I have posted this file as Fagor, but again, when we post our actual code, we will need to make sure that that it is done using the Fagor word language, okay? So again, right now when I look at this file, you can see I've got all my tool paths. These yellow lines just kind of represent my tool motions as it moves around the part to engrave the top surface of my workpiece. If you would like to engrave the top surface of your part, what I'm going to suggest is that maybe if you want to put your name or your initials up here, that's more than fine. In order to do that, what you're going to do, and I realize that you've never used this software before, so again, I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. I don't want this to be a 40-minute video, but at the same time, I want to move fast enough, or take enough time, excuse me, so that you know what I'm going to be doing. So what I want to do is at the very top here, I'm going to go to this wireframe tab. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here to the shapes group and I'm going to click create letters. Now the letters that you want to create, just use the OLF simple, and the reason for that is because these are basically just stick letters, and it's the easiest ones to select for when we are engraving. We don't want to kind of go into too fancy a font, or the tool is going to want to try to go on both sides of it. It just becomes a nightmare. And realistically, what we want to do is we're going to type in what we want for our letters. So I'm just going to type in M. Lockwood, because obviously that's my name. You can, I mean, if you want to put that name in there, go for it. But if you want to put your name or your initials or a gamer tag, I don't really know. You can do whatever you want. Okay. Now, obviously, you can see that Mastercam has generated this lettering by default. It is massive. It is bigger than the actual NES controller itself. So we need to reduce that right down. What I would suggest is in the height area, come here and you're gonna click. Highlight this text, and I'm just going to change this to 80 thou, so 0.08 thousandths of an inch. And you're going to see that it looks like my font has disappeared, but it's not. It's actually anchored to the bottom left-hand side of my cursor. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my spacing to 30 thou. This gives our tool a lot of movement to move between these letters so it doesn't look all smushed together. So I mean, I find that that's a pretty decent amount. If you want, you can play around with the spacing and the height a little bit to get whatever you want. And because all of our letters are going to be a bit different, I can't guarantee that you're going to have 8 or 9 letters like what I have. So I can't really give you a, hey, this is the exact position you want to locate it. All I would do is eyeball where you want to put this. And what you're going to do is you're just going to click right on top of your surface, and you'll see that my lettering has become this blue cyan color. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click this green check mark to say OK. And you'll see that that lettering has now been added onto the top surface of my NES controller. Now, the next thing I need to do is I have all of my toolpaths generated, so that's all my feed rates, RPMs, all my locations already programmed for the lettering and the engraving that's currently happening. What we need to do is we need to add the letters that I've just added to my NES controller into that toolpath. That way you're not setting RPMs, feed rates, depths of cuts and all that stuff. We can just use what I've already created. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to where it says geometry over here, and I'm just going to click on that one time. And you're going to see that I have all of these chains. So right now I have 96 chains. Basically every single one of those represents all the different letters and all the different features that we are engraving. We need to add our lettering chains to this. So what you want to do is you want to come over here into the chaining manager, and you're going to right click one time, and I'm just going to go to add. Do me a favor, don't be deleting chains out of here, or you're not going to have a good time. Your part's not going to look correct. So make sure that's a right click, and then like I said, you want to go to add. So from add, we're going to get our wireframe chaining dialog box. What you want to do is, number one, make sure that you are in the wireframe method. You also want to make sure that you are in C-plane, and I find it's easiest to do this with a window selection method. So make sure you have boom, 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 all selected, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're just going to draw a window around the lettering that we've added. So I'm just going to click and drag. And what you want to do is you need to make sure that all of your lettering is fully encapsulated within this window. So if it is not 100% surrounded by the box that we've drawn, Mastercam will not select it. It'll just be like, well, this one was, even if it was 90% selected, Mastercam's going to say, nope, unless it's fully surrounded by this window, it will not select. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and say, okay, here's my window that I want to create my geometry. And Mastercam is also asking me, I'm just going to bring this up on my screen so you can see, but it's saying sketch approximate start point. So realistically, it's just saying, where do you want to start on this lettering? And I'm going to kind of start over here on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to randomly click right here, and you'll see that Mastercam has now grabbed and selected all of these letters. And it's actually adding 14 additional chains onto this toolpath, okay? When I have that, I'm going to click OK. You're going to see that now I no longer have 96 chains, I now have 108, and I'm going to click OK one more time. So at this point in time, Mastercam is updated. It realizes I have new chains that we want to engrave. And if you look over here, you'll see that we have these red X's. These red X's show us that we've made modifications to a pre-existing toolpath, and Mastercam isn't fully updated yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this icon here, which is regenerate all dirty operations. So it kind of shows a tool with an X on it. And just because there's an X doesn't mean it's a bad feature, doesn't mean it's going to delete. That's not the case. So I'm going to select this, and you'll see that Mastercam has now added these letters onto that chaining toolpath. Okay, so it's added my initials to the engraving operation. So the next thing I want to do, and I mean, if you choose to, it's fine. You don't technically have to. You could post your code right now, but I personally always like to verify that what I've done is correct. So the next feature I'm going to select here is just this icon here, which is the verified select operations. It is like a yellow piece of material with a little clipboard and a check mark in it. It's very tiny to see, but I'm going to select it. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up another screen where it will actually show what my toolpath is going to look like as my tool moves around engraving the top surface of my profile. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to press play, and you'll see that it's showing Mastercam or my tool moving around. And obviously this is not a real-time speed. It's going to take much longer than that. But the thing is that I'm looking for is just that, okay, cool, it did in fact engrave my initials in the top surface of my workpiece, okay? So I'm going to exit out of this. Now, the next thing that I would do, and again, you can save this file at this point in time, that's fine, especially if you've done it on any other computer that's not within the B1016 CNC lab. If you are in the B1016 CNC lab, what you're going to do is you're going to click this G1 button. This G1 button is basically the post processor, and what it will do is it will actually create your G-code program for you. And as you can see, because we're in Fagor, it will already give you the .pit file extension, and what you can do is you can click OK. Now, as you can see, I am doing this on a computer that does not have the Fagor post processor, so I won't be able to post code, but realistically you should be able to click OK, and then save this as a 6-digit number file name, and then essentially load this program onto our machines in the B1016 CNC lab and engrave the top of your workpiece with your initials on that top surface. So that's basically it for this video. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Of course, you can always email me at m_lockwood@fanshawonline.ca. Best of luck with the remainder of your project, and I look forward to working with you in the lab. Take care. Bye.